How's your injury situation looking?
Oh, the situation, as you said, is okay. We could have done better with the fact that we almost definitely will be missing Barnsley. He's seeing a specialist. He's been going on with things and trying to get through a period with a sort of overuse injury. So that'll get checked out. Johan Gudmundsson won't make it, but the good news is it's not as serious as it could have been. It is a hamstring injury, but we're happy in the knowledge that it should settle down. It is settling down already. It should settle down quickly. We've got two that have come late on, which I was expecting to be through it now, but Bardo and J-Rod are both down ill. I've been since Monday, so it's obviously a deeper thing than just a bug. They're not in today, so we'll see how they come through that and whether they're available tomorrow. The doctor's seen them today, so the usual stuff and temperature and all the rest of it. So we keep getting nearly back and then we get another knock. So sometimes that's the way it is, but we carry on regardless.
Chris Wood?
No, he's good. It was a precaution. Like he was coming off anyway, so it was kind of lucky timing with that one. He was basically had a very tight hamstring, so that was a precaution. But he was literally coming off at that time anyway. Yeah, so sorry, that was a precaution. But he's trained the last few days and he's fine.
And the only other one I've got is down here is Ben Gibson.
Yeah, Gibbo's back training, clear of trouble. He ideally could do with the game, but he's a super fit fella, so I'm not really, only just get his eye in. But he's been training and carrying on as normal. And Dwight had a knock, but he's been training today, so there shouldn't be a problem with him either.
Shame for Rodriguez, because obviously scoring a couple at the weekend might have sort of forced his way into your thoughts a little bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, he's been knocking on the door, figuratively speaking, obviously, all season because he's been around it. He's been active. He's scored a few goals for us. And, we like what he's about. We'll see how he comes through his illness. But, he's going well. And I thought he connected well with the team and with Woody against Peterborough. I appreciate they're not a Premier League side, but you've still got to perform. You've still got to win games. And it was a very solid performance, a very good performance in many ways. We're definitely looking for him to continue to play his part and grow with the team as I believe he will.
So with that in mind, then it's great that some of the players that played in that game have maybe given you an option now because of the injuries that you have got, and that's the way it is. You've got to make full use of the squad.
Yeah, well, that's often the case. I think I said all this season and certainly early season, it's the most competitive squad. We believe in the players. We believe in the ones that when they change, whether it's suspensions, not as many of them in this case at our club, but generally if it's injuries, loss of form maybe or whatever, then I do feel we've got players that we can put in. We are stretched at the minute, and we've only really had. We had a period about probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. No, probably a month, maybe 5 weeks ago, where we had a lot of clutch of injuries, and we seem to just have that little spell now. In between times, we've not been too bad because last year we had real trouble with injuries. So you just don't want them together. If they're spread over a season and they're more individualised, just for a few weeks at a time, you can kind of carry it better. We've just been a bit unfortunate. We've had clutches of them where it's 5 and 6 down at a time. So, but anyway, that's the way it is sometimes.
Has that given you any more sort of impetus, if you like, to try and bring somebody in?
It doesn't change much really. You've got to have the money, so that's the biggest thing for the start point. I'm still not clear on what's available and what will be available. You've got to have the players though. They've got to be available. You can have as much money in the world. I said this week in, week out to you when it comes down to these windows. You can have as much money in the world. If the players are not available, or the other club don't want to sell, or the contracts can't be agreed, etc., then it's a very, very tough business. So money is a massive help. We all know that, but it's not the only thing. Things have to align other than just the money.
We love to speculate, and
you do.
Names often come up. Scott McKenna, Stephen and Zonzi, are they two that...
We have names constantly thrown at us. Constantly. So whatever you want me to answer, I can answer, but the probability of your names coming to reality are very, very slim. I've found over 7 years here, so you can make of it what you want.
And there's less chance now maybe of anybody possibly leaving. I mean,
there's not less chance. There's never really been that big a chance. We're not in a position. Strange situation, really. We're certainly not in a position to need selling. When the club's in very, very financial good health. So there's no demand on that. There's always a price eventually for a player at Burnley Football Club because of the nature of the club, but that price is considerably different than it would have been 4 or 5 years ago in relative terms. Because quite obviously we're in a very good place financially. We don't have to sell anyone. So yeah, it's not really. I don't think there's too much on that. If a decision made on that, it'll be made for the right reasons. Certainly not purely financial reasons. It's more the getting people in. It's more the competitive element of getting players into the building and of the level that we think can move us forward. Because at this time of year, you can sign players, but they have to be players that can help you move forward, whether it's with instant effect or whether it's grow into the team and improve going forwards. And I think you try and find that balance, of course, where both boxes are ticked. Not that easy. So we just keep foraging away and see what we can come up with.
Would that be the case as far as if, say, for example, somebody was interested in trying to sign Joe Hart and he wanted to try and get first-team football? Would you stand in his way if a suitable offer came along?
It's not relevant. You know, the relevance is we haven't had anything that means anything for our players, so therefore, you know, there's no reason to think about it too much. We have an awareness, of course, what ifs. But at this stage, there's not even been a, you know, usually you get a sniff or you get a phone call, and some people just phone you outright. There's only one situation that is not really that real, and it certainly was nothing to us. That's it. The rest of it has been just, you know, us looking outside the building to see what we can do.
You had a tough period over Christmas. You've got another one coming up now, Chelsea and then Leicester. So it's typical Premier League. They come thick and fast, and it never gets any easier, does it?
Yeah, I mean, the reality of the Premier League is a tough Christmas is really about one result, and that was that we lost to Villa. If you beat Villa, I think people weirdly say you have a good Christmas because we're on 27 points and we get through the Cup. So, you know, I think that's how the Premier League is different like that. One game can mean everything, a different viewpoint every week, and I think that's the difference. My viewpoint is we knew they were tough games. They had a new manager in Everton. Man U are Man U. I mean, they're not thriving this season. They're not maybe as powerful as they were, but they're still, when they do find their moments, they do, and we made mistakes in that game. And Villa was a disappointment first half. We played well second half, couldn't pull it out the bag. So really, it's about one game, in my opinion, but going forwards, of course, we have got a tough run of games, but you've got to play them all. You've got to play them all. I've said it every year we're in the Premier League. So there's certainly no fear about it. It's just the reality of being in the division. And then you could argue after that, going from that game all the way to the end of the season, I think we play what would be classed as, I think, it's three of the big teams, you know. So you can look at it anyway. You're going to play them all at one point. If you get them back to back, like we've got a run of that, that's, you know, often a tougher challenge, of course. But like I say, you've got to play them all. You've got to play them all home and away. Simple as that.
Chelsea seem to be developing quite nicely as a side under Frank Lampard. Did you always expect that he would be the sort of player that would become a manager at a top-class club?
I don't know well enough to know that. His career and his professionalism within his career suggested that he might go down that route. But that era of player, and certainly the level, he was a fantastic player without doubt. They've got a lot more options. You know, they're finishing their careers. Certainly, I don't think he's lacking finance. So they have a more open view of what they can do next. You know, I don't think they have to go into coaching and management. Some want to do it, of course, and I think he obviously did want to do it, and he's shown that. And I'm sure he's willing to put the miles on the clock, which all of us have to do, and he'll be learning a lot. It's probably the best time he could take over that club, you know, because of his history there, but also because they're trying a different kind of way of thinking. I know that may change due to the opening of their transfer situations. That may change. But he seems to be doing a good job. There are a couple of, you know, a little bit more up and down in the last sort of number of games, but generally speaking, I think everyone thinks he's doing a very good job. Got some good players, they always have, to be fair. Young players who are not that young, they actually have been out playing. You know, they are quite experienced actually for young players, or the younger ones they've got. But they've got some very, very good players and very experienced players. So they still make for a good side and a tough side to beat, that's for sure.
Afternoon, Sean. I'll get my speculative transfer question out of the way.
No problem.
Early.
No. Oh, sorry, you haven't asked yet. That was just what's in my head, ready to say it.
There was Jay Rodriguez linked with Aston Villa in the last couple of days.
There you go. I was right.
I know.
I told you. It's dead right.
I thought you would be not something you'd A, aware of, and B, entertain.
No, nothing. I've heard nothing of the sort.
Thank you very much. Just on the injuries, is Barnsley's one that he's been carrying, or is it a fresh injury, or is it the same?
No, he's been carrying. It's an overuse injury around the groin area. I don't know the exact details, which is why you'll see someone about it to try and find out the exact sort of cause, or not really cause, of what it's led to, you know, from the physical output. He is a very physical player, puts a lot into his games and his training. And like I say, he's been soldiering on with it, and you know, it was really affecting him the last few games. So I had to, you know, we had to have a chat with him and say, look, you've put your lot in for us to try and carry on, but we've got to get to the bottom of it. So that's more the situation.
And obviously disappointing for Johan having just got back into the...
Yeah, really. We thought the way that it worked out, we're playing half a game and then going into the cup game, we thought was almost the perfect finish to his sort of true rehab, if you like, because the rehab team can only get them so far. We know that. Reserve games, the 23 games, whatever you wish to call them, they can only get you so far, and then it's when you're playing the real stuff. And that we almost saw it was a great finish to his, forget about results, to his finish of being injured, which was the half against Villa, and then of course a full game. So that didn't transpire, but the good news is it's not as serious as what it could have been. So we're hopeful it continues to settle down and we can move on.
Timescale wise, still up in the air.
Yeah, nothing timescale wise, but it's not, well, at this early stage, it's certainly not showing signs of being anywhere near the timescales of the last one, thankfully.
And you mentioned there about sort of situations arising and that nothing had really come in from your end for your players, and I take it you're not welcoming interest either in that regard.
It's not about not welcoming. We don't need to look at interest. If people have any interest, we can pretty much rebuff it, straight away. It's only purely the history of the club and the financial sort of thinking of the club that would change that. But I can assure you the numbers would be pretty large nowadays for anyone who wanted to try and get players from here. So we have changed in that respect, that's for sure.
And looking the other way, obviously difficult month to bring players in January anyway. Yeah. Does that place any sort of extra added emphasis on what you do in the summer, given that January's trickier to do business in? Well,
it's tricky. The immediate picture of transfers is tricky. The bigger picture of transfers is trickier. I've been here 7 years. We have a tricky model. Trying to find the balance of the risk and reward with players, the right finance, the right fees, the right contracts, and still players that we think can at least adapt to improve us at the worst, and the best, of course, they just hit the ground running and improve us straight away. It's very difficult, and then when you add a time frame, an exact time frame, well, that just makes it more difficult. And then you add, as we spoke about the other week, you're trying to align players who fit into a very, very certain set of circumstances. So there's only so many players to go round. There's only so many players of a certain quality. And if you want to sign any old player who might affect, might not, well, then that's not as difficult. But if you want to sign one specifically to improve the team, grow with the team, make money in the future, be of a certain age, be of a certain physicality to understand and deal with the Premier League, there's a lot more parameters that make it more difficult. And I think over time, we've done pretty well with it.
I guess perhaps fans and ourselves in the media maybe make more of the January transfer window than perhaps people inside football clubs do as well.
I think you have to. It's your job. Why wouldn't you? So it's a specific set of days. It's a specific set of moments. There's only so much information you can cram in, but why wouldn't you? It's, if at worst, if my rhetoric is boring, which it often is, at least it gives you something else to write about and talk about.
And moving on to the football, obviously you've had 3...
The football at the end of all this.
I know, yeah.
Finally talking about
Amazing.
the football. I've been here 20 minutes. When it's talking about my nose, I was more interested in talking about me spot on my nose. But anyway, we can talk about football.
You've had obviously 3 league defeats in a row. Looking at the last season, the way you sort of rallied in that second half of the campaign, does that give you sort of added belief in what you can look at for the last 17 games of this term, given that you tend to be sort of more effective in the second half of the season?
We haven't really, I don't think we've ever suffered or needed added belief. I think there's always been belief here. There certainly is from me. There's certainly a lot of pride in what the players give and what they have given. There's certainly a belief in what we do from the players, the staff, me included. There's a good alignment with that. So there's no need to add belief. It's just a case of delivering on what you know. And I think the players have learned a lot over the last number of years. And last year was another big learning curve. We know it's in there to pull out results. We've proved that. But then you've got to go and deliver and make sure your performances are right to do that. And we're only a few details away over the last number of games. But that is the Premier League when you're us. The superpowers, when they're on it, they can often wipe teams out. But most of our games, we've had a few this season actually, we won 3-0 and been quite solid and comfortable. But generally speaking, the margins are tight. Everton, a mistake. Man United, a mistake. Villa, a bad half, a really bad first half. And that changes them games. And that's sometimes the margins you're working on.
And reasonable record at Chelsea in the last sort of 3 or 4 appearances there for you guys, 2 draws and a win. Does that have any impact at all looking at Saturday?
Well, all it does, it reinforces that it's a fact that you can do it down there. There's other clubs we've really had a tough time at, but we can factually do it down there. But as I said, it's a different set of players there as well. Despite sort of a bit of the rub of the green actually, and a couple of mistakes when we played them at home. Our chance count was as high as it's been, especially the quality of chances. We just didn't deal with things the other end. You've got to find that balance. We know you've got to defend well against these teams, and we will have to do that. But equally, we've got to remain a threat, and that is a difficult balance to find, particularly away from home and particularly against the superpowers in the division. But we've found it before. We'll have to find it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Sean, it's Mark Walker from PA. How crucial was the FA Cup win just to snap this sequence of defeats?
Yeah, you can't count it as crucial. Different competition, different set of players on the day. Some of them players will play again, of course, just by the dynamic of the group. No, I mean, look, winning just brings a feel-good factor. It doesn't guarantee anyway. If you win enough, it guarantees what you want, but it doesn't guarantee things from one win. What it does, it brings a feel-good factor. It reminds you of all the good things that you can deliver. But with all due respect, it's a radically different situation playing Peterborough at home than it is playing Chelsea away.
And 4 points above the bottom three, you don't strike me in any way that you're a manager worried. I mean, there's been quite a few defeats recently. Is this because of your experience and what you've done here at Barnsley and what the club are capable of doing?
I think it's partly the understanding of the challenge. I think it's partly the understanding of who we are. It's partly the experience that I've garnered from we're in the 5th season out of 6 in the Premier League. If you think it's going to be plain sailing, you're wrong. If you think it's going to be easy, you're wrong. And if you think you're going to put loads of wins back to back together, you're wrong. So therefore, you've got to get used to the things that hit you. And then you've got to remind yourself of the good things that you do to work through them phases and spells to get what you want. So I think there's lots of different things. But I wouldn't say calm about everything, but I like to work on logic and the realities. And so that keeps me a little bit more level about what the challenge is, I think.